Hello, everybody. Welcome to sportsbookreview.com. It is the time of the year. The French Open is upon us. Now, the French Open obviously differs. It's got a different court. There could be rain delays. There's lots of factors to consider when betting the French Open. And luckily for us, we do have tennis betting expert Joao from MGTennisTipster to run through some of the main points to consider ahead of your tennis bets. Joao, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you for inviting me, Natalie.
Now, you've written an article over at Sportsbook Review. The link, I'm sure, will be in the description of this video on time of completion. Now, one thing that you mentioned, which I don't think that many people think about, is the overround. Do you want to break this down for us a little bit?
Yeah, just a small explanation for those who aren't familiar with the overround, the sportsbooks overround. That's the way they make their money. They take a percentage for them on all the bets that are placed. And if you look, for example, on the odds comparison, you can see there that a table that says payouts, and that's what is going to be paid to the player. And the difference between that to 100 is the bookmaker's overround. You can also calculate that by dividing 100 for the decimal odd, and then you get the fair percentage for each outcome. You sum them and then subtract by 100, and you get what the overround is for the sportsbook. On that article, we have there the formula to calculate it, and it's very important because when you're betting on sportsbooks with lower overrounds, you can get more competitive prices, and it's possible to make long-term profit. On the other hand, if you are betting on a sportsbook that has a huge overround, over 7-8%, it's almost impossible that you'll beat them on the long term.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, you do go into detail on your article. So for those who want a further breakdown, please read the article. Link will be in the description box. Are there, because obviously, do sports books present their overround, the percentage of their overround?
Yeah, it's easy to calculate. Just use the odds that you have for a certain event, and with that formula, just dividing 100 by the decimal odds, and then making the sum of the fair percentage and subtract by 100, you'll get the overround. And the overround is different in case of tennis from match to match. If we're talking about the early rounds of, for example, a Grand Slam, they'll have a higher overround because there is more information that they don't know. But on a final, for example, everyone saw what the players did, and we had a lot of press conference. So they are more confident that their prices are accurate. So the overround there is much lower, for example.
Yeah. Is there a specific sports book that has like the lowest overround, or generally has the lowest overround? And does their overround change like match per match? Could one sports book offer the lowest overround in one match and then another sports book in another match?
Often you see the best overround in the market, talking only about the sports books with high reputation. We have also some shaky ones that always offer very high overrounds, but talking about only the ones with the best reputation in the industry, Pinnacle is definitely the one that presents the best in this case, the lowest overrounds, the best prices, and also the highest limits.
Yeah, and then that's right as well, because your article also goes with sort of the best bookies to look at ahead of the French Open. Pinnacle being one of your favorites. Now, I know because obviously we've been doing tennis videos for years now, and you often quote Pinnacle. Why is Pinnacle your favorite choice?
Pinnacle, besides the best prices in the market, as I mentioned, on the main markets, they have a good offer on the money line, set handicap, the spread, and also the over-under. It's also the one with the highest limit. So for regardless if you are just betting for fun or a professional bettor, you'll find the limits, the best limits there for the amount that you want to bet. On a Grand Slam final, for example, you'll find the limits above 100K. So they offer the best limits and the best prices. So they're the best.
Yeah, we've got here a comment because I know the sports books that you have mentioned are Pinnacle, Bet365, BetVictor, and 5Dimes. We'll go briefly as why you like these ones, but we have a commenter as well saying Bovada offers lots of tennis bets, and that's for US players. What's your thoughts? Do you use Bovada?
No, I'm in Europe, so I don't have any experience with Bovada. It's just more for US players. So unfortunately, I can't give any information about that since I don't have any experience with them.
All right. And then another one, obviously, you mentioned is Bet365. Now, you say that Pinnacle, obviously, they don't focus on ITF events, but Bet365 do. And they also offer the most extensive range of like prop bets, special bets. And that's Bet365.
Yeah. Pinnacle. In recent years, they have been investing more in tennis. A couple of years ago, we didn't saw any challenger events, and also on the women's side, the higher ETF events. But they are trying to spread their offer. They're offering more events to bet. But when compared to Bet365, it's impossible. When you go to Bet365, if you want to bet on an ETF event, it doesn't matter. If the match is happening, Bet365 has them. It's
Yeah.
simple as that.
Okay, cool. One of the I mainly focus on soccer betting, as you know. Bet365 are fantastic for in-play betting. What's your take? Do you find Bet365 sort of great for in-play tennis betting?
Yeah, they offer an extensive number of options for in-play betting, and also the fact that they offer for the matches that they have pre-live, they also have in-play, so you'll be able to find almost every match in the world if you want to bet it. Like I said, if the match is happening, you'll find out Bet365 before and in-play also.
Okay, and then the other bet sports that you mentioned is Bet Victor. You say great odds for outrights. Do you want to extend on that?
Yeah, sure. Before the tournament takes place, or even during the tournament, some sportsbooks offer the possibility to bet on the player to win the tournament.
Okay.
While on Grand Slams, most of the sportsbooks offer that option on the lower tournaments, ATP 250, 500, or Masters 1000. You won't find many sportsbooks offering this kind of market, and often the best price in the market is from Bet Victor.
Okay, that's good to know. Now, next week, we're actually going to do a video talking about the outrights. I want to brush on it quickly with you. We've got some big players out. I'll get to that after we talk about five dimes. So next week, when we talk about outrights, you're saying that Bet Victor is the one to go for those bets.
Yeah, exactly. They usually have the best prices in the market. It's not 100% that you'll have always on Bet Victor, but it's quite often that you'll find, especially on the lower events. On Grand Slams, not so much because a lot of sportsbooks offer. They're on the lower events since we don't have a lot of offer. Bet Victor usually has the best prices.
Okay, and five dimes. Tell me why you like five dimes.
If I've done this similar to Pinnacle, they have a very competitive overrounds. Their overround is quite low, and sometimes when Pinnacle adjusts the prices, if someone places a huge bet on a player and the price drops, five dimes takes a little longer to adjust the price, and you'll find the best price in the market on five dimes. It's not unusual when you see a change in the odds due to the money that is invested. So five dimes often also presents the best prices in the market, not for a long period of time, but in this gap between the adjustment from Pinnacle and five dimes, you can find the best prices there.
Yeah, obviously best prices is very crucial, but also a sportsbook that has a great rating. Sportsbook review, we rate each bookie. The bookies that Joao has mentioned are A+ on our ratings guide. Very essential because you know you can be tempted by great odds, but if the bookie doesn't pay out, then you don't get your money, and it causes a whole load of problems. And so you need to go with a reputable bookie, one that's had long standing, and we keep an eye on all of them as well to check out that they have a good client communication and a good payout as well as good odds. So make sure you bet with a reputable bookie. Very, very important. Now, talking about Roland Garros there's a few factors obviously to consider. One of them being the most crucial is the clay court, and some players fare better on a clay court than others. Tell us what the clay court does to a game.
Yeah, it's the game conditions are extremely different when compared to a hard court. It's also important to understand that each clay court is different. For example, in Roland Garros, the two main courts that we have are the Philippe Chatrier and the Suzanne Lenglen, and the conditions between the two are quite different. The Suzanne Lenglen court, because it's a smaller one, it's much faster. While the Philippe Chatrier, since it's a very big court, the conditions are slower there. So that's also a thing to keep in mind. But speaking more generally about what happens on a clay court, the ball bounces higher, the conditions are overall slower, and the players need to play longer rallies. The physical condition is very important, and also the baseline consistency. One of the reasons because Rafael Nadal does so well on the surface is the heavy topspin that he has on his forehand. The ball bounces extremely high, and it's tough for the players to respond to that.
Yeah. So what would you say? It's a longer game. It's a slower game, and players with a sort of a stronger serve fare better than those, and then also in great physical condition with the game being longer. So those are the sort of the key factors that you need to look at when sort of choosing your favorite player for the game.
Yeah, and also the history on clay. Some player might be extremely consistent on hard court, but on clay tends to struggle. For example, the ball on clay, the bounce is not very regular. You might have some tough bounces, and if a player likes to hit the ball extremely early when he's playing on hard court, the bounce is always the same. While on clay, that won't happen. So it's tougher for those players, even though they might be extremely solid on hard court. On clay, because of the irregular bounce, they can't keep that consistency from the baseline, and usually you see them missing much more often, and their results have no comparison to the ones on hard court.
Yeah. So if you had to describe the perfect player to win at Roland Garros, what would his or her attributes be?
Without looking at any odds on that, Rafael Nadal is the perfect example.
Well, okay, so basically a player, but he went through trouble last season, so I was actually surprised to see him as favourites here. Do you think that Rafael Nadal can win the French Open this year?
Without looking at the odds and analyzing the value, he's the undeniable favorite to win there. He won the Masters 1000 in Monte Carlo, the ATP Barcelona, the Masters 1000 in Madrid. He's just beating everyone on clay. Then once he's playing on the Philippe Chatrier court, which is by far his favorite, he's a complete beast there.
Okay, interesting stuff. And then now other things actually to consider is last year we had a lot of rain. A lot of matches were rained off or postponed to the next day. They were cut during the play. This can affect a game heavily if you've got a player that doesn't have sort of as strong a stamina, gives them a chance to rest. If they were in a bad mindset, to bring round. Do you think we're going to see? I know it's sort of a crystal ball sort of question, but do you think that that rain will be a factor when betting the French Open?
I haven't looked yet to the forecast for the weather for Paris at the time, but once it rains, it changes a lot. Clay is the only surface on the tour where the players can continue if there's only a light rain. On the other surfaces, they stop immediately. Around clay, they might continue, and it also changes the conditions. Like we mentioned before, playing on clay is never the same, and if it's raining, the conditions are heavier. For example, Nadal doesn't like to play on those heavier conditions because the ball doesn't bounce as high as it does when it's sunny, for example. And it's tougher to hit winners. So players with more powerful ground strokes might benefit from those conditions when playing on rain. But also the mental side that you mentioned, it definitely affects the player's momentum. And as I always used to say, the rain always benefits the player that is losing.
Exactly. And so, for example, say if you were going to bet on a game that had Rafael Nadal, for example, and then you hear that it could, it could heavily rain that day for that match, would you then stay away from that match just because it does make it rather unpredictable?
Well, it depends on the value. But for example, I can tell you, I believe it was 2015, I think, that Nadal played against Djokovic in the final, and Djokovic was playing extremely well. Was supposed to be the year that he was going to win his first title in Paris, and my idea was to bet on Nadal. But I only decided if I was going to really bet on Nadal a couple hours before, when I saw that the weather was going to be sunnier, because the predictions days before can be accurate, but not 100% accurate. And I wanted to know for sure how the weather was going to be, and the start of the day is going to be sunny, perfect for Nadal's game style. So then I went with Nadal. But if there was rain on that day, for example, on that match, I would skip and not betting on him.
Yeah, we've got sort of a few comments here, and there's sort of like Murray and Nadal have to be favourites. Djokovic is always hard to count out too. That's from Marino. What do you think about that comment?
Well,
Would
Murray
you agree?
is currently in a terrible moment. He lost once again in the first round yesterday against Fabio Fognini. It hasn't been an easy clay court season for him. A lot of defeats, but he's definitely one of the main favorites to win. However, Nadal seems to be a step above everyone else, and Novak Djokovic might come after him, the second main favorite, and then probably Andy Murray. But I think that Stan Wawrinka always has to be a player to keep in mind, as well as Dominic Thiem, two very good players on the big stages and on clay.
Yeah. Now, I know obviously next week we're talking about outrights, but we have obviously some big names are out. We've got Roger Federer. You did a video on that on Facebook confirming that. Maria Sharapova, and then obviously we know Serena Williams. But how will this affect, for example, not having Serena Williams in the competition? Does this make way for a possible new player to make their name? I think Simona Halep right now is the favorite, for example. Is she the rightful favorite? Is it going to be really tough betting the outrights as we have obviously the likes of Serena and Sharapova out?
Well, besides Serena and Sharapova, we don't have also a couple of Grand Slam champions. Victoria Azarenka, she also was pregnant, had her first child, and is supposed to return in the WTA Stanford. I believe it's in September. So it's likely that she plays the US Open. Also, Petra Kvitova, the two-time Wimbledon champion, had I don't know if you know that she suffered an attack at home, and her hand was cut, and she hasn't been playing for several months. She's trying to return and playing Roland Garros. She signed up for the tournament, but there are still some doubts if she's going to play. And even if she does, it's unlikely that she can lift the trophy after so much time away from the tour. But I believe that it's going to be a very tough tournament to predict. Due to Halep's recent results, she won the title in Madrid. She deserves to be the favorite. But Halep is always a player that doesn't do very well under pressure. You see Halep often collapsing on the big moments. For example, as you mentioned, the rain last season, she lost against Samantha Stosur, if I'm not mistaken, last season in the French Open, a match that she had completely under control. It started to rain, she got frustrated, and then everything changed. She lost there. So trusting on Halep on such a big tournament as a Grand Slam that takes 2 weeks, especially since she never won a single title in her career, it's a tough decision to make.
Yeah, very, very true. And so you're sort of saying it's not like that she can't win it. She probably very much can win it. It's just whether mentally she can see herself through the end. But having some big names out, though, do you think mentally that might sort of like allow her to progress to the finals?
When we look at those questions, you can see always from the two perspectives. On one side, oh yeah, I don't have those players on the draw, so my chances are higher. But on the other hand, oh, I don't have those players on the draw, so the pressure is all on me. So it's always how the player is going to react to that. Some of them like the pressure of being favorites, while others like to play as the underdog.
All right, very interesting stuff. Now, this question is really, this video has been more about how to bet Roland Garros. We will be back next week, Joao and myself. I don't know if you guys who aren't familiar with Joao, he's been with us. He comes to us. He does a lot of things actually on Facebook and Twitter for a lot of the tournaments. But for the Grand Slams, Joao and I always get together. We deliver best bets for the day. But we're going to start next week. And that's when we'll talk about the outright and the draw. So do stay tuned for that. We'll answer also any questions you may have. Head on over to sportsbookreview.com. It's more sports, tennis, and then then you'll see the how to bet Roland Garros, because obviously each Grand Slam is different. There's different factors of different players that perform better. Also sports books to use as well. All major factors to making money. So stay tuned for next week for the outrights there. And Joao, best of luck, and look forward to enjoying the Grand Slam with you and hopefully making some money.
Yeah, same. See you next week.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.